Hi guys, it's been a really long time since I have produced any content for my ASMR channel. I'm really annoyed actually because a few days ago I actually did a role play and I've just gone to put it up on my channel and do a bit of editing, and there's no sound. I've had a bit of a check, various Google sites and suggestions, and I have just tested my new microphone, and it's the microphone's fault. There's a really bad loose connection, and I don't know how much sound there's going to be on this now. Anyway, there's a bad loose connection, and it's taken me a long while with a bit of fiddling with the microphone jack to get it to work. I'm a little bit concerned that the sound has now gone on this video as the microphone symbol has gone. So I'm really frustrated and annoyed. But I'm going to keep talking as I planned, in the hope that it does actually work, so at least I've got something to put up. I can only apologise for the tip in the background and the strange noise you may well be hearing. It is our kitten Rosie who's playing or trying to catch a fly on the windowsill. So I thought I would update you with what's been happening since I last did a role play. So there's been my family and I had a really bad year last year. We have gone through several bereavements, some expected, some totally not. So obviously my first thought hasn't been to produce any ASMR content. So the end of last year was really hard for a lot of us, especially my partner. So there was that obviously made it really difficult. And this year we've been just cracking on and trying to get things back in action and getting on with work. I've been taking on quite a lot more commissions, and it's meant that the times that my daughter is in childcare, I obviously need to work, focus on client work, and focus on articles and press releases that I do, rather than producing ASMR content. And so actually the first time I had to do something was a few days ago, and that seems to have been a bit of a waste of time now, which I'm really frustrated about. We're actually going away next week on a nice family holiday for 2 weeks, so what I might do actually is order a new microphone, and then it may well come while we're away, and I might see if I can find a time to do something then, or set aside some time for when we get back. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was, sorry, my other kitten Thor is on my laps. Millie, our lovely, beautiful cat. Regular subscribers or viewers to the channel will know that we had a lovely tabby cat called Milagros, Millie for short. And in 2007 she was diagnosed with kidney disease. Sorry, not 2007, that's when she was born. In 2014, when we moved here, away from London, moved to a new place, she was diagnosed with kidney disease. And we put on various vet prescribed diets, special diets. And then the end of last year, she went in for tests and didn't seem to be doing as well, so it was recommended that she be put on some medication, different types of medication twice a day, which was powder mixed into her food, and also a pill, and we did that twice a day for several months. And then in January of this year, she deteriorated significantly to the point where she'd always, as her kidney disease progressed, she was becoming more and more picky, and not even in the typical way a cat is. We'd think we'd cracked it and found one brand of food, and then she would just stop eating it and go on hunger strike. We'd have to find another brand. It got to the point where we had run out of ideas, run out of different brands to give her, and she stopped eating altogether in mid-January. So I wasn't too worried, because I thought maybe sometimes she's gone through that and then picked up again and found her appetite. So we cooked some chicken for her, and it seemed that she really wanted to eat it, but she couldn't swallow it. So I broke up tiny pieces, and again she tried, but she just couldn't, and then in the end she gave up and walked off. She slept a lot, again more so than a normal cat. We never saw her. It was almost like we didn't have the cat anymore. She just hid away. And so the final 3 days was really difficult, and my daughter at the time was going through a very difficult clingy phase, and it was really hard to find time to just spend time with Millie. I was very torn, trying to find the balance to be with my daughter and meet her demands, and meet her needs, and wanting to spend the last few moments with our cat. So that was really, really hard for me. And after it was clear that she wasn't going to pick up, and she seemed to get weaker and weaker, and just didn't seem aware of her surroundings. She kind of just, in the last day or so, she kind of just stayed in my daughter's playroom in the corner, and I popped her on one of my sweaters and gave her a hot water bottle and tried to get her to drink a bit. She just got weaker, so we phoned the vet and they said to take her in, and we knew that it would be her last journey. That was a lot harder than I thought it would be. I knew it would be hard, but I didn't realise that just as the injection's going in, that the animal, it's almost like they have a reflex. She seemed to kind of rally for a second, just as the injection was going in. She started to, what seemed like she was about to jump down from my lap. That was heartbreaking. But actually what really comforted me was I spoke to the vet a few days afterwards, because I had a lot of questions I wanted to ask her about the drugs that she was given, and also why it seemed that she seemed to gain strength. What really comforted me was that a friend of mine said to think of it as if they were just jumping into from the human to the real, from our conscious world into the spirit world. They were kind of transitioning and jumping over the Rainbow Bridge, and that was a great comfort to me. So I really, really miss Millie so much. She was ever such a gentle cat. And we went for a few weeks, kind of adjusting, and we both found it really hard not having a cat. Although, in a way, it felt like we hadn't had a cat for a lot longer, because we just hardly saw her and she hid away. And because we have a child, we always do feel that we weren't able to really focus on her as much as we would have liked in the last few weeks, months even, which I always regret. But again, you've got that conflict because you need to focus on your child too. Anyway, so a few weeks later I was agonising about when would be the right time to get another cat. It was never about replacing Millie, and I really worried that that's what it would seem like, that I wasn't that fussed. She could be replaced. But for me, cats are so important in my life and I have such an affinity with them. A home without a cat just isn't a home. And there's so many in our local area, so many cat sanctuaries and rehoming organisations. So I went to look on a few of them, and I found a lovely one called Cat Cuddles, and the name just really spoke to me. We were initially looking for an older cat, but not too old, so kind of 2 or 3 years, purely because of our daughter. It wouldn't be fair on either my daughter or the cat to get a kitten. So we inquired about that, and one of the volunteers called us back and said, would you consider getting 2? And it was really strange because I'd actually considered it in passing, just kind of a fleeting thought, a few days before, but I disregarded it really quickly because I assumed that my partner would put his foot down and not like the idea at all. But he actually was really keen on the idea. So we went to visit a few cats and fell in love with 2 beautiful kittens. Not very young kittens. They were, at the time, they were 8 months, so they were 7 months. So they were a bit older and had been trained and neutered, of course, had all their injections. And they were part of a litter of 4, all very different colours, very different personalities, but these 2 needed to be home together because they had really formed a very strong bond. And at the time they were called Boldo, which apparently is a spice or a herb. I think it's a herb, which I've never heard of. And the little one's called Rosemary. They're both black and white, although I always describe Boldo as black and white, and Rosemary as white and black, on account of how much of each colour they have. Anyway, we didn't really want to keep their names. My partner wasn't as fussed, but I'm quite a spiritual person, and it was really important for me to name them something with a Celtic or mythological theme. So we named Boldo Thor, which is quite fitting because he's absolutely huge. He's kind of like he's got a lot of muscle. He's like what I call a beefy cat. He's got cat arms. And his sister Rosemary we changed slightly just to Rosie. I would have liked to call her Freya, but my partner wants to keep Rosemary, but we compromised on Rosie. So just as Thor is very muscly, Rosie is very, very delicate. I think she must have been the runt of the litter, really. And I love how differently their personalities are. Thor seems to think he's a dog, or a toddler. If he wants a cuddle, he will stand on his hind legs and put his paws up in the air, which sounds adorable. And actually, it is adorable. But what he tends to do is, when you've got your back to him, when you're cooking or washing up or something, he will climb up your leg, digging his claws in, and he does this all the time. So we're often yelping and cursing him. I don't quite know how to stop this behaviour. We have tried the Jackson Galaxy behavioural theory ideas, where put kind of a few of those suggestions into action. Really love Jackson Galaxy, but they don't seem to be working really with some of the strategies we have. what we've tried to do is tell him firmly no, and tell him to sit, but not give him any attention until he sits, in which case then we pick him up. It's been several weeks now, but I'm hoping that eventually he will learn that he gets positive attention when he sits, rather than jumping up on our legs and scratching. The other thing he does is he loves being picked up like a baby. He's really, really affectionate and cuddly. I've never known such a cuddly cat. He loves jumping. If you happen to be bending over to get something, he will just jump onto your back and stay there purring. He's absolutely insane. And Rosie's the timid, more cautious of the two. She'll lick your hair in the mornings. She's very sprightly. They both are, really. But she's very light, and she doesn't like being picked up at all. In fact, if you pick her up, she stiffens her little paws. But she does love being stroked and given a lot of fuss and attention, but it'll be entirely on her terms. So right now, Rosie's on my right-hand side, curled up, looking out the window. And Thora's curled up on my feet. Anyway, I will leave it there, I think, because I don't know how much of this recording's actually got audio on it, and again, I will be really frustrated if it hasn't really worked. Hopefully it has, and I can pop this up on my channel. And also, I should say a big, big, big thank you to all my subscribers. I was actually really shocked when I logged in the other day to see the amount of subscribers I've got, especially considering I've neglected you for so long. So thank you so much. And of course, thank you so much. And thank you for your patience. Really appreciate your support. Okay, hopefully I'll see you soon then.